Hank Goldberg back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Hammer?
Yeah, will you play the one in 2004? It was the biggest score ever made. Birdstone, number 4, beating number 9, Smarty Jones at the wire, trained by Nick Zito. I won $21,000 on that race.
What? Are you serious?
I'm serious.
So you didn't think Smarty Jones was going to pull it off, is what you're saying?
I had dinner with Nick Zito Tuesday night. Every year we go to the same pizza place out in Queens. It's a tradition with us, and he's told me that this horse was training great. Mary Lou Whitney was the owner, and how he was really excited that he had a chance to win this race for her. So I had the horse in the Acorn double going into the Belmont. I had the Exacta. I had the Trifecta. I had everything you could have on it. It came back $21,000. I had to do a post-race analysis for the place we used to work at.
Yes,
and I'm standing in line, and it took me 45 minutes to collect because I had to take my picture, fill out IRS forms, and the crew was waiting for me downstairs. And when I got there, they were saying, "Where were you?" I said, "I'll take you all to dinner. Don't worry about a thing."
Great story, Hammer.
It was one of the highlights of my gambling career.
Now you have it, Mike Del Tufo?
Yeah, because I finally got it.
And I'll never forget. After the race, the guy who was doing the publicity, I never forget him. A guy named Mike Cronin, a nice guy, had tears in his eyes because he really wanted to see the Triple Crown. And he said, "Don't you feel miserable?" I said, "I'll get over it."
Well, Hank, before we get to playing that soundbite for you, let's get to the here and now. American Pharaoh is currently 5-7 to win this thing, and
no, 5-7 is post time.
Okay, post time. So what do you got for me on this race, Hank?
Well, let me first tell you that I really want to see Bob Baffert do this.
Okay.
He deserves it. I mean, he's come so close. I really thought he had it done with Silver Charm, which was back in 1997. Silver Charm had about a 4-length lead in mid-stretch, and he looked like a sure winner, and then Touch Gold came up and nailed him at the wire. And I remember coming back to the hotel, and Bob was sitting by himself on a sofa in the lobby, and he looked so miserable. And the owners were going to have a party after the race, and I'll never forget. They said, "Oh, let's have the party anyway," which they did. But it was that was one of the toughest beats I've ever witnessed. And Bob's done such a great job, and he's been so great for the game over the years that I really want to see him do it. Now, having said that, I don't think he's a sure thing. I saw Jerry Bailey this morning saying that he thinks he's going to win easily, but I think Todd Pletcher, who trains the horse out of the 8-post Materiality, is going to send his horse, and he's going to try to get the lead early. I think that's his strategy. And if he does that, then American Pharaoh is not going to have the easy lead he had in the Preakness. And if that happens, a horse is going to come from off the pace. And I like a couple of horses. Frosted, who ran 4th in the Derby, and he's a horse who can make up ground. And I like a 20-1 shot, believe it or not, in here. And
Keen Ice?
I talked to Dale Romans, who trains Keen Ice. This horse had if you go back and look at the film of his Derby race, he was blocked several times, and he actually had the second fastest final quarter mile in the race. And he's not going to be as far back as he was in the Derby. Dale told me that yesterday when I spoke to him. Kent DeSormo's riding him. Kent has been having a fantastic year. He's as good a rider as there is in the business when he's on his game, and he's on his game right now. And you're going to get 15-1 or better on him.
So what about the weather, though, Hank? For those who are going to be watching the clouds, the rain, or the sun,
well,
how's that going to
if
affect the
it
way you're
rains,
going to
as
put
Nick
your money?
Zito told me Monday, they can all go home.
Is that right?
Yeah, this horse loves the slop, and you saw what happened when the monsoon hit. I think I told you before the Preakness, if it rains, that horse can't lose. I'm talking about American Pharaoh, because he had a similar race in the Rebel at Oaklawn, and he's 2 for 2 now on a sloppy track. He loves the sloppy going, and he got loose and the race fell apart behind him, and that was the end of it. And I think that race was a throwout. I mean, he wasn't challenged. The two horses, Firing Line and Dortmund, who would have challenged him in that race on a normal track, just couldn't run in that goo.
So, Hank, not to go all Coburn on you, the owner of California Chrome, but his point last year after California Chrome lost is that it's not fair to run the Belmont Stakes against other horses that didn't run in the Preakness or didn't run in the Derby and also didn't run in the Preakness. And I take a look at the 8-horse field. Only American Pharaoh and Taylor Verve have ran in the Preakness. And then you take a look at other horses. There's only 5 horses that ran just only in the Derby and then sat out the Preakness. And then there's 1 horse that hasn't run yet at all. So how fair is that, really?
That's the way the game is. I mean, there are horses who are well-rested, who are freshened, and beat horses who have run more frequently all the time. I have another reason why we haven't had a Triple Crown winner in 37 years. And
okay.
Andy Beyer wrote an excellent column about it in the Racing Forum the other day, and that is horses are bred now for speed. They're not bred for stamina. And these horses will probably never run a mile-and-a-half race again. And it's the distance that does them in. It's not the fact that it's tough enough to run 3 races in 5 weeks, but when you have to go a mile and a half, they're just not bred to run that far. And it takes an exceptional effort and something that they're not trained to do anymore. And years ago, they were trained tougher. The horses were tougher years ago.
Hank Goldberg joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. So, okay. It's post time. Where are you putting your money, Hank? What do you think's going to happen?
5, 6, 7 box.
So
I'm going to use American Pharaoh in my exacta box with Keen Ice and of course Frosted.
Okay, so that's where you're going. 5, 6, 7. What do you think that pays?
It'll pay very well if American Pharaoh doesn't win.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So
but I got to tell you something. I'm rooting for Baffert. Which is a cardinal sin when you're betting is to not be sentimental about it. And but I don't care. It's only money. I just really want to see him get it.
Okay. And do you have the actual call that was supposed to be played as part of This Day in History, Mike Del Tufo?
I do now, because now it was sent.
Although I don't want to get into the inner workings of how the sausage got dropped on the ground between the two of you. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know about it. You say you have it now?
Yes, the Smarty Jones call.
This is one of Hank's greatest moments. Hank, you ready for this?
Oh, yeah. You know what? You're going to make me cry.
Okay, here we go. Roll it.
They're coming to the top of the stretch. Smarty Jones is a 4-length lead. Birdstone is moving to be second on the outside. Lockhart 10 is back to third. And Smarty Jones enters the stretch to the roar of 120,000. But Birdstone is going to make him earn it today. The whip is out on Smarty Jones. It's been 26 years. It's just 1 furlong away. Birdstone is an up front. But they're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
So where were you for that, Hank? Where were you physically within the building when you watched that?
I was working the show for ABC. I think that's where I was. But you know something? It was so I was up in a booth, and you know what was great about it? Smarty Jones was a Philadelphia-based horse. And so you know how those Philly fans are. It was great to rub it in their face.
The parade was planned on Broad Street, man. The parade was planned.
Hank, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it. 5, 6, 7 box. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I hope you go to the bank.
I hope so, too. Thank you.
You deserve it, too.
Thank you, Hank. You're the best. Thanks for calling in.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.